Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web novel Humans Don't Make Good Familiars, taken from Reddit. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Suma's POV. Here, impressive! The instructor called out to Lbry and his familiar as they approached and rejoined the group. Now, who would like to go next? Jake, do you want to go next? I asked him privately. He remained quiet for a moment. It thought, no, let's see someone else go next and see what strategies work best against that thing, he suggested. I agreed, and we decided to wait. No takers, the instructor called out. Well, then I guess, he started to say. But just as he did, a recruit flew up and landed with the rest of the recruits. Recruit, why are you late? The instructor yelled. Apologies, sir, the hammer replied. I overslept and... The poor recruit tried to explain, but as soon as he said overslept, the instructors had heard enough. Oh, you were tired. Well, let's help you wake up. Summon your familiar, recruit. You're next in today's battle exercises, the instructor ordered. Yes, sir, the Niema said meekly. With that, he raised his wings and activated his summoning spell. It was an odd spell, as the magic circle didn't form on the ground, but in the air, and we all soon saw why. His familiar flew out of the magic circle, which was floating sideways in the air with surprising speed. However, its appearance was a real shock. Is that a flying fish? Jake asked, stunned. It appears so, I acknowledged, equally amazed. How is it floating like that? He wondered. It's just, hanging in the air. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense, I stated. What is it called? Jake wondered. I don't know, I said. I didn't hear him call a name. He probably didn't give it one. No, I mean, what is the species name? He wondered. I don't know. I've never seen a creature like that before. At least not in the air, I told him. Get to the field, recruit, the instructor ordered. The Niema and his familiar flew over to the training area and took up position together far away from the dummy. Begin! The instructor yelled. With that, the dummy began spinning and started to close in on the pair. This is where I realized something I hadn't before. I realized just how widely varied a battle against an enemy could be. Where Lbry and his black serpent immediately began charging in and attacking the dummy, this Niema and his familiar chose to attack from a distance. The fish, as Jake called it, took position between the dummy and its master, then immediately began attacking the dummy from a distance. It shot bolts of lightning from its mouth, which crashed into the dummy with frightening force. 1, 2, 3 times the creature shot its attacks, and each time it hit with unyielding precision. A flying fish that shoots lightning, Jake mumbled, probably as enthralled by the spectacle as I was. Now he only needs to land 3 attacks himself, I noted. It was then I noticed something interesting. The Niema was preparing to use combo magic. Jake, do you remember when I told you about combo magic? I asked. Yes. Why? He wondered. I think you're about to get a demonstration, I said. I could tell what was going on. Combo magic is a technique all mages learn if they plan on getting or already have a familiar. We learn it at the academy, and it has 2 telltale signs. First, a magic circle is cast around both the master and the familiar. Second, a wave of mana travels down the circle's connection points from the familiar to the master. Both were occurring between the pair as we watched. The dummy was beaten down, parts were falling off, and it was only inches above the ground now. I can only imagine how much damage it must have sustained between this fight and Lbryk's. O forest, grow and spread at my command. Heed my call and ensnare my enemies. The Niema began to chant. It must be a complex spell if he needs to chant, Jake theorized. In truth, it probably wasn't nearly as complex as some of the spells I'd seen him do, but I doubt he realizes that. Lightning, flow and penetrate this forest, become whole and raw. As soon as he finished his chant, vines erupted from the ground and entangled the broken remains of the dummy. Once it was immobilized, the vines began to explode. One by one, they detonated and released bolts of energy in every direction. In moments, the fight was over, and the dummy was defeated. Now that was cool, Jake smiled. Indeed, combination magic is a powerful tool, I replied. Good job, Urkut, their instructor complimented. Now, who's next? Suma, I think we should go next, Jake stated. But I thought you wanted to wait and watch, I questioned. I did, but now I want to give it a go. Jake, remember, we can't use magic like that. Our combination would... I said, but he cut me off. I know, I remember what happened, but I don't want to do that. I just think that we can handle it, he said confidently. I thought about it for a moment and relented. If Jake thought that it was a good idea, I would trust him. Sir, my familiar and I would like to go next, I announced. End of chapter. Chapter 67. Jake's point of view. Suma, I think we should go next, I stated. But I thought you wanted to wait and watch, Suma questioned. I did, but now I want to give it a go, I said. Jake, remember, we can't use magic like that. Our combination would... she said, but I cut her off. I know. I remember what happened, but I don't want to do that. I just think that we can handle it, I told her. She remained quiet for a moment, but relented. Sir, my familiar and I would like to go next, she told the drill instructor. All right, then. Take your positions on the battlefield and begin on my command, he acknowledged. Suma fluttered up to my shoulder and rested on the perch of my armor. So, Jake, do you have a plan? She asked as we approached the field. I do. This thing is weak to long-range attacks, and I think I've just the thing to get my strikes, I told her as I made my plan. Care to enlighten me? She asked. I reached into my bag and pulled out a handful of steel ball bearings that I'd purchased a few days ago, after I had an idea for a spell. With these, I told her. She stayed quiet for a moment, looking a bit concerned if her tilted head was anything to go by. Jake, I know you're strong, but you realize that training dummy is made of metal, right? She asked. How do you plan on throwing those hard enough to do damage? I don't, I said. I explained my plan to her, and she seemed wary, but agreed to go through with it. If everything goes to plan, then we would both get our hits in, no problem. We took our positions. I was far away from the dummy, and she was covering me until my spell was done. It was a complex spell, like nothing I had ever tried before, but I was pretty sure that it would work. Once we were in our positions, the instructor gave the call to start. Begin! As he said that, the new dummy that had been brought out lurched forward quickly, in fact. It was much faster now than in the other rounds. It rushed at Suma and started spinning its, comparatively huge metal arms around. She flew straight up and began her half of the plan. Meanwhile, I began my half. She wasn't much of a fighter, but she didn't need to be. She just needed to buy me some time. Fly, Crimson Bolt, she yelled and cast a spell. A lance of fire, just like the one she'd used when that magistrate attacked us, flew at the dummy. I had expected it to slam into the dummy and score her one of her needed hits, but instead the thing suddenly leaned and narrowly avoided being hit. It was like some kind of spinning top of doom, the way that it was moving and twirling. Fly, Crimson Bolt, she yelled again, and launched another attack. Once again, the dummy dodged. While this was happening, I was focusing on the balls and the spell. There are 4 fundamental forces in the universe. The strong force, the weak force, gravity, and electromagnetic force. Of these 4, I was attempting to manipulate the final one. I've been preparing for the spell for a while now, studying military documentaries about the technology and looking up videos on the internet to gain a better understanding. I started by envisioning the target becoming magnetized and drawing the ball bearings closer as they approached. Then I used magic to create a kind of rail system along the path I wanted the ball to follow. As the ball would go, it would be pulled along by electromagnetism through the air and suspended with my mana. But that is where the documentaries and I began to split. Technology had its limits. Pulling something with magnetism is easy, but switching the polarity at a halfway mark is nearly impossible. Unless you have magic. While the spell was pulling the balls along with magnetism, it would also be generating a reverse polarity behind the ball, driving it forwards. "Jake, how much longer?" Suma asked as she dodged a flame attack from the dummy. "No! Dodge!" I yelled and took aim. The spell was different, unique, and hard to imagine. I needed something solid to picture as I cast it. Suma had mentioned that her people did this occasionally too, so I thought that I would try it out. "Railgun!" I proclaimed and activated the spell. Suma's POV. "Railgun!" Jake yelled as his spell activated. I had already moved from between him and the dummy, and I was soon very glad to have done it. His spell was strange. I could feel some magical energy building up, but it wasn't very much. Certainly not enough to destroy such a large enemy. A glowing path of light appeared and connected Jake and the center of the dummy. For a moment, I expected some kind of fire spell, but I didn't actually see the attack. Before I had time to realize what had happened, the training dummy exploded violently into thousands of pieces. A roar like thunder shot through the air, and the blue path vanished. It startled me so much, I lost my concentration and nearly stopped flapping my wings. There was literally only scraps and splinters left of the dummy. "Stop! Stop!" the instructor ordered. I landed on Jake's shoulder, and the instructor yelled for us to get back to the group. End of chapter. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my videos. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I would just quickly like to give thanks to our Tier 5 members: Elithia, Barky, Feudicyol, Meridian117, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Albarden Gusta, Savage Patch Papa, and Lord Azrakal.